Today's episode is brought to you by Valley of the Shadow, The Spiritual Value of Horror, the new book from Reed Lackey and Tyler Smith, adapted from his award-winning documentary. In it, they talk about the unlikely connections between religion and scary movies. Vampires, werewolves, mad scientists, and slashers are just a few of the genre icons discussed in the book. There's even a lengthy section about giant monsters, from Godzilla to Gamera to the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. An insightful exploration of the joys and complexities of the horror genre, Valley of the Shadow is now available on Amazon. Hi, I'm Aaron Newworth. I write for We Live Entertainment, and I am the co-host of Out Now with Aaron and Abe. I am a huge Godzilla fan.
Hi, I'm Terence Johnson. I write at lenoirauto.net, and I have seen some Godzilla movies.
Together, this is Two Black Guys Talk Godzilla. First try on the title synchronicity.
Yeah, we got that together.
Oh, boy.
Nobody has to know how long it took us to do our interview.
So this is our inaugural episode, the official first episode. We had a fun introduction, but now we're here with an even more professional setup for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do this thing. We're going to talk about every Godzilla movie, starting with 1954's Godzilla, Gojia, from director Ishirô Honda. And we're going to work our way all the way up to, presumably by the end of this podcast, Godzilla +4 or whatever they're at. So.
I definitely was like Godzilla -2.
So that's what we're going to do for the main topic of this episode. We're going to talk about 1954's Godzilla. But before we get there, I guess just a real quick reassessment of why we're doing this. I got to know the introduction, kind of put that out there. But
Well, I know that you are the number one. You're the number one Godzilla superfan that I know.
Okay.
You're currently wearing a Godzilla baseball shirt celebrating the 70 years of Godzilla.
And because it's cold outside, I have an undershirt on. If you had to guess if that undershirt was also a Godzilla shirt,
I'm sure it's also...
You'd be correct.
and this idea sort of, I think, came out of seeing Godzilla -1, of just talking about it and be like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to sort of look at all of the movies, and I know how much you love it. And like I mentioned, I've seen a couple of them, but there's like a gigantic chunk of them I have not seen. Mm-hmm. And it sort of was an idea that was percolating in our minds, and our lives have finally aligned to be able to do something like this. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a large part of this is going to be the fact that I only want to do this if it's going to be fun, because we only have so much time to do certain things like this. And right now, this is a lot of fun. Yes. So I'm more than happy to talk about Godzilla on a bi-weekly basis.
Yes.
Let alone watch all these movies with you. Because it's going to be a ride doing this.
It's like, there's like a smooth 10 of these that I only know through GIFs that you have sent or like random images, random memes of Godzilla. So, but this, obviously, the first movie we're talking about, I have seen it. This is my first time seeing it in a long, long time. So that was a little more fresh in mind.
And also, not a lot of GIFs in this first movie. When you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, this is pretty meme-free.
Yeah,
which makes sense given the tone of the movie or whatnot.
The tone of the movie.
And even the use of Godzilla, it's not really like...
Yeah.
He's not doing bits like he is in some of the upcoming ones.
Yeah, he's not sliding on his tail or a roundhouse... he did a roundhouse tail whip in this movie.
He gets the job done, but he's not... It's not played for laughs.
Yeah, definitely not.
Okay, let's get into it then. Let's talk about 1954's Godzilla.
ゴジラに光を当ててはいけます。ますます怒るばかりです。100万年前に生息したイラクの大怪獣ゴジラ。水爆実験はついに太平洋に眠る大怪獣の怒りを買った。放射能を発し、白熱の海溝を吐きながらゴジラは東京へ上陸した。
I mean, here's a brief plot synopsis. I'm just going to go straight up IMDb because why not? After a dinosaur-like beast awoken from undersea hibernation by atom bomb testing ravages Tokyo, a scientist must decide if a similarly dangerous weapon should be used to destroy it. That just jumps right to the third act of that description.
Yeah, I just give away the decent crux of the film in the synopsis. But.
The film is directed by Ishirô Honda, as mentioned. Mm-hmm. It features Takashi Shimura, Akihiko Hirata, Akira Takarada. I cannot guarantee that I'll try to say names every week when we talk about Godzilla.
Yeah, it's more out of respect of not messing up somebody's name.
For sure.
Just,
If I could crush it every week, I would.
Yeah.
Like Momoko Kochi, who plays Amiko. Great name.
Phenomenal name.
Love to say
yes.
it. Okay, so Godzilla, you said you have seen this movie before, but not in a long time.
Yeah.
I saw the last time I watched it was pretty recently when the 4K came out, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like only a couple months ago at this point.
Yeah, for me it's like years.
Yeah. So and I've seen this movie plenty,
a million times. Yes, because you love.
So I mean, there's only so much I can get out of it's a new podcast and everybody's going to be familiar with my relationship with Godzilla. But I can certainly just point out that I've talked about Godzilla many times on other podcasts, including a commentary track that we've done on Out and Out There Name for this movie. Mm-hmm. So if you want to hear like more in-depth thoughts, there are places you can find it. I'll probably link it in the show notes for this episode or whatnot. But in terms of just saying what I like about this, what I feel about this movie, I think it is a great monster movie. Mm-hmm. I really respect that it wants to have something to say about what's going on at the time. You have this post-atom bomb era monster film at a time where there's not many monster films. You have things going on in the U.S. There's 20,000. The Beast of 20,000 Fathoms is like a main inspiration for Honda. Mm-hmm. And then yes, it's the atomic age, so they're starting to like ramp up with sci-fi related kind of things. Yeah, and then obviously you go back, you get to like King Kong and stuff like that with stop motion. So like the seeing a movie like this where there's innovation involved in how to do it, you get suitmation becomes a thing where you have the guy in the suit doing the thing. You have these elaborate miniatures and what have you. There's only there's a lot of miniature work in this movie, despite the lack of Godzilla in this movie. Yes, which you should be prepared for. The lack of screen time for Godzilla. People want to complain about that in these new movies. It's like it's not a new thing.
Yeah, well, I agree.
But I really admire the kind of the work that goes into building this world out. Where it's obviously you have actors and sets or what have you, but you have a lot of miniature use, regardless of if Godzilla's involved or not, just to kind of convey a sense of scale in a matter that works for the movie. And that all works for me really well. Once the actual Godzilla attacking stuff happens, especially when I look at the rest of this franchise, I admire how sad it is. It's not as fun to watch Godzilla stomping through town in this movie by comparison to other Godzilla movies. Yeah. Let alone, King Kong comes in and it's like, well, he's just, wild out because like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, this is a different kind of monster unleashed in this area where he's there deliberately and he's causing destruction because he's an asshole. But it's not. It's not met with like, look at these fun deaths or what have you. It's like, oh, there's families and mothers of children. Yeah,
there's a pretty. I was taking notes during this movie, and like, there's a pretty sort of like emotionally jarring moment where like a woman is hugging her 3 children, and she's like, "We'll join Daddy soon." Yeah, because obviously, we can say that her husband was lost in the previous World War II, and just that like that this movie took time to sort of do something like that. It goes to your point.
There's a weight on it that matters more so than you may expect for this movie. In the preceding movies, it'll be like, well, they'll be in like abandoned districts or valleys, so they won't be in cities as much. Yeah. There are cities. Don't worry, there's gonna be a lot of destruction.
Like to a couple of things that you said, I think like I personally love disaster movies. I love watching cities I love get torn up. But like the reason why, it's not just about like the destruction. It's much more about the human element and like the survival aspects of it, and obviously the effects are pretty cool. But I think the most effective disaster movies are those movies that make you care about the people, right? So it's not like 2012 is a wild and crazy foolish movie, but at its heart, you're watching like this family just continue to try and survive amidst these stakes.
It's rooted in melodrama that is relatable. Like, it can be silly, but if it's relatable, then
and here with Godzilla is obviously coming off of World War II and the atomic age. And I think that this movie, when it's at its best, it's like using this movie to like address those specific things. And I think and giving it that weight is what makes it a solid film, right? It's not just about Godzilla rising up out of the water and destroying swaths of Japan. It's it's about
fishing boats.
Yeah, it's about and military boats too. But it's about so much more. And I think obviously you touched on like the monster movies that we'd had previously. Like Godzilla is the biggest one, but he's
king of the monsters.
King of the monsters, yes, but also in his movie the least in comparison to like a King Kong, in comparison to like the Universal monster movies, which are all based around those characters. So it's like a really, really, really interesting, approach to making this. But I mean, like I said, I hadn't seen this movie in a long time, and I've seen so many other Godzilla movies since that, like, as we were watching this movie, I was like recalibrating in my mind what the 54 version actually was, right? Because I have so many, Godzilla has changed so much, it's been shaped so much. We talked a bit about -1, which we'll get to, in 2036. But like, I kept turning to you being like, oh, like that, I see how Godzilla -1 like did an homage to this moment in there, but like turned it into a different way.
Sure.
So it was like really interesting to watch this. You think of Godzilla and you're just thinking of all his destruction, and this movie is like an ensemble. This is like an ensemble film, very much in like Towering Inferno, to bring up another disaster movie, right? There's like the sprawl of people that we're following throughout this thing from different walks of life in different areas, all having different reactions to Godzilla.
Certainly from when you start the movie, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying to get adjusted to like what's going on. There's different boats that are going down. There's villagers. There's people in the city. There's reporters.
Yeah.
There's politicians. There's whatnot.
And
but then it narrows its way down to like get to like the core.
Yeah, obviously we narrow down to the core, but it's like in that we're meeting I feel like all of the characters were fully formed in a way that sometimes you see a big gigantic spectacle movie and it feels like we're not giving the humans anything. It's like the spectacle overrides like the drama, and we won't talk about which films those are, but like you care about Serizawa, you care about Ogata, you care about them in meaningful ways, and I thought that was definitely really smart. I think what intrigued me about this and in the recalibration isn't just like, oh, Godzilla isn't in this as much as he is. It's like the introduction of Godzilla is fascinating to me, because like in my brain I was like, okay, Godzilla is going to surprise them. And it's like, no, Godzilla, in the minds of the people in that particular village, Godzilla has already been here. But obviously the atom bomb testing has completely changed.
Warped whatever version
Warped whatever he was.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Because then when you first get the first reveal I have to say is so, I don't remember it being that silly. It's so silly, where they're all like running up the hill and he appears on the other side of the hill just peeking over. I said, wait a minute, this cannot be how we're introducing the king of the monsters. It's so, but like I thought about, okay, in 1954, if I'd never seen a movie like this, and like going into the theater and being like feeling like I was one of those people, and like this Godzilla's head just like poking out would like terrify me, because you've never seen anything like that, nothing to this scale.
I do wonder about that, and like I'm sure research could figure it out. But in terms of if you're going to the movie and you're seeing Godzilla, especially as a Japanese person, like I imagine you at least see a poster that shows there's some kind of monster in this thing, and you probably you're aware of other monster movies that exist, like a King Kong or what have you. So like you might maybe have an understanding of what you're getting into. But trailer wise, I mean, for one thing, I know there are trailers, but like, are people seeing trailers? Do these trailers show? And I know there's a trailer on the Criterion disc, so like I could imagine what it looks like. And I'm sure probably trailer was more back then, even than now, showed everything. So it's like I'm sure they had an idea like, oh yeah, this thing's gonna happen. But in terms of the other reveal of it, it is certainly, it just throws it at you. And if you're like there in 1954 watching it for the first time, Yeah, it probably does have a certain kind of effect.
In a way that it doesn't now, because like I was like, his first reveal is really just going to be him peeking over this thing.
What you're going to see in these upcoming movies is it's always fun to watch when they finally reveal guys. Like often they'll be like the other monsters will be in way before and be doing stuff, and there'll be entire plots that are established.
Yeah,
and then Godzilla's just like fine, I'll get involved. Like it's just like it's like a means to an ends.
Yeah, so it was like really interesting from that respect because let's just use this moment to talk about Godzilla.
Okay.
As if this whole podcast is not about him, but about Godzilla specifically, because there were so many things that I thought, like obviously the special effect of like somebody being in a suit trampling on these miniatures to give you the vibe that there's this larger than life thing coming through is like really, really effective. And I think that like every moment you see him after that is like got such strength that it's just is like the first time that we see a significant part of him being that way. It threw me it threw me off. I think about Godzilla, and I think about just like I said, rampaging through, just knocking everybody's shit over, and for no reason. In this movie, he was just doing stuff just to be mean.
Yeah, he's just a dick in this movie,
just to be mean. Because why? He didn't have to bite that the radio tower.
Nope,
he didn't have to do that. So yeah, it's just is really interesting. Like obviously, I was not scared of Godzilla in this. I don't know if I've ever been. Maybe 98, just because of that might have been like the first time I'd seen that Godzilla. But when we get to that movie, the movie just does not hold up in any sort of meaning. Spoiler alert for the 1998
Roland Emmerich's Godzilla, not good.
Yeah, not good. And so, but like just the creature-ness of that in 98, I was what, like 9, 10.
Yeah, and Raptors are all the rage. They got little Godzillas.
It's a little different. So it's like the terror isn't necessarily there with Godzilla, more so just like what he represents, and that's why I was like, oh, so it is interesting to have characters in your movie come right out and say, like, have a bunch of people believe that this thing already exists before we get into a movie where other people are trying to figure out if this thing exists. Like, that's a really interesting dichotomy. Typically it's like either everybody is in on it or like nobody believes. And so in this, it's like, okay, one group of people are already there, and then another group of people, and then another group of people. And now it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do if this gets out, to the world, yada, yada. Like, how are we going to go all about this? And so from that respect, it was like really interesting to see just the decision-making in terms of here's how we're going to reveal Godzilla. Here's what he's going to do.
Part of the fun of doing this, every 2 weeks is that we're not going to have to deal with seeing somewhat repetitive scenes in a lot of these movies where it's a lot of boardroom meetings and discussions about like, what do we do? We got a debate. Some guy doesn't quite get on board with the plan in mind or whatnot. Separating these out will help in distinguishing them. But in terms of just like the context of the time, that is something I've always been curious about. If you're a Japanese person in 1984 watching a movie about an atomic monster destroying your city, that's obviously relevant in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
But I wonder how affected your psyche is by something like that. Obviously, if you're closer to something, if there were relatives in Nagasaki, then sure, that probably isn't the best thing to be like watching necessarily. But at the same time, these movies are hits, especially this first one's a huge hit.
Yeah,
it was a big hit. Like, and that's not new. I mean, we came through like a pandemic where Contagion became such a popular movie to watch.
I still
or any number of disaster movies that are always
haven't rewatched Contagion. At some point
you need to jump on that train.
No, and I love Contagion as a movie. I think it was excellent. Although I remember the initial watch of it, I was like, Jude Law's character. There's no way in the world this would happen in real life.
Whoops.
And then real life was like, well, bitch.
Take a ticket.
Get ready. So yeah, it's and to that end, I think that's what makes this movie so good. It's what makes most movies good. Get the thematic resonance, right? And here, like, all of my favorite scenes from this film are either direct allusions to like the destruction that an atomic bomb, because so like Godzilla's destroying the town using his atomic breath that I always forget that he has. even when you see this movie, it's like, oh yeah, he can do that. Or it's like scenes of characters discussing or alluding to what has happened to Japan in real life. I think all of those scenes are the most effective scenes in this film.
That's it, and it's not surprising to hear, but that is fun to talk about because based on our schedule, we do plan. I don't want to talk about it now, but we do plan to talk about Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is the American recut version of this movie, for our third episode, which does remove a lot of those elements. So it'll be
it'd be interesting to see how it plays because those obviously it's the humanity and thematic resonance, but they're just strong. It's just a strong script in that perspective, right? Like, I think a lot of the conflict with Amico, my God. Like, we didn't watch this movie.
Sorry, Miss Kochi.
10 minutes before we started recording this. But I think a lot of the conflict with her father is not just about, oh, he's like a zoologist, he doesn't want Godzilla to die. It's like, there's so much in him being like, well, why we should study him. Like, how is he able to survive this radiation? And it feels like, oh, this is like a character from a generation previously. And the characters in the story are old enough to remember what has happened. And she explicitly states like, oh, I just barely escaped Nagasaki. But it feels like something that is weighing on her father in like a more meaningful way than just like, I study creatures, I don't want this creature to die. Very much like the PTSD of what has happened is like affecting how he's feeling about how everybody's going about dealing with Godzilla.
Yeah, and giving him that perspective as being a zoologist, it's like you're in this position now where because of man's tampering with nature, now there's this thing that there's only presumably one of, and it's been created, and the logic just doesn't compute to him as far as we need to destroy it. It's like, well, no, we're responsible for this thing. Like, we can't just kill. Like, and yes, it's our own fault now to a degree that we have this thing rampaging through our cities again, causing more destruction. It's like, what's the solution here? I need some third option because I can't just say destroy this thing completely. That's not my parameter. But however, yes, it's like, what else do you do? Like, there's no solve to this one. Its primary goal seems to be terrorizing us, which is, yes, going back to the very thing that we were trying to like stop to begin with, which was destroying more of our cities.
Yeah, and I think it builds out from there because it's like the leaders of this country are worried about, okay, if this thing is real and this word gets out, it's not just like, oh, there's a monster on the loose. It's like the monster was created from like our testing of atomic materials, right? So there's this undercurrent there, but then it's also like, but wait a minute, like the reason why we had to do that is because we just had 2 atomic bombs dropped on us, and you start building out these different layers, and it makes all of this stuff like that much more meaningful. And I mean my favorite, the convo between Serizawa and our messy love triangle. Even though I didn't love all of the love triangle stuff, I think the conversation between the 3 of them, Ogata, Emiko, and Serizawa, about his research, I think is my favorite scene in this movie. Serizawa's just giving very Alfred Nobel of Nobel Peace Prize, right? Like the reason why he came up with the piece. Was it him? Like this idea of like, my name got put against something, oh my God, that destroyed like all of these things I don't want to use.
Yes, Alfred Bernhard Nobel is the man behind the Nobel Prize. But
like he did that after
he was known for inventing dynamite.
Yes, the dynamite of it all. It's Serizawa is just, he's created this thing and called the oxygen destroyer, which is what our heroes want to use to kill Godzilla. But he's like, I don't think we could, like, the second anybody finds out about this, they're going to want to use it as a weapon. And, like, I can't allow that. And, like, almost as, like, I would, I hate that Godzilla is rampaging through Japan, but just like I can't allow that, and like I hate that I even discovered it. It's such a powerful scene. My favorite scene.
I love that. I love having like being aware of the weight of something you're doing, which is like it's almost like it basically is like a meta thoughts on someone like obviously like an Oppenheimer who creates this thing where there's going to be a clear use of it that's going to happen, and he's sitting here being like, I've seen that happen. I don't want to be that guy also.
Yeah, and just his like wanting to burn all the notes, wanting to just do all of these things,
ultimately sacrifice himself.
Yeah, ultimately sacrifice himself at the end of this. Because after burning the notes, he's like, okay, I'll be the only person that knows how to make this. And he was, and it was so good. Like I could watch that moment on a loop, that scene on a loop. It just was so brilliantly acted and so brilliantly written. And that a movie called Godzilla, that we all consider a monster movie, took the time to have that extended sequence in there discussing this, in a meaningful way, I think is what has allowed it to maintain, obviously it's a hit. It made a lot of money. It has cultural relevance, but like scenes like that are what make it we are here, what, 70?
Yes, it's more the 71st. This is
70.
I'm wearing my Godzilla 70th anniversry jersey right now. So we're at year 71.
70 years later, and it still is like, okay, like I get, you understand it. I just, oh my God, didn't really love the love triangle, but
I'll be fascinated to see what you think from where we go from here, because obviously, is Godzilla in more of the movies that are coming up?
Yeah.
Sure. Does that mean that there's still 70 minutes of human stuff? Absolutely. I'll be curious which ones you deem to be stronger when it comes to the nature of those characters.
I'll say that the human stuff in this, obviously likely because the Japanese film made by Japanese filmmakers about Japanese thoughts about what has happened to Japanese people, is going to have more relevance than American film made by American filmmakers about everybody. Very, very.
I know what you're saying, but again, there are 20 more of these movies that also have Japanese filmmakers with Japanese actors, but they're Japanese thoughts.
But what, like the difference, to something like the 2014 one, like Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, like the plight of him trying to get back to the family, like is very strong emotional current, but it's not. We've had 2 atomic bombs dropped on our country, and here is like a creature that is born out of our trying to figure out how to test and make sure that doesn't happen again. And the horrors are now being revisited upon us, right? It's just different. And so
I'm not arguing it's not different, and I don't want to get so far ahead of myself. I'll just say I do think that movie has other things going on beyond having a core narrative to at least keep the audience involved.
Yeah. So this one, the human characters were great. The sort of sprawl of the ensemble, the different levels of life of people that you get to meet, I think is really solid and interesting.
They for sure are. You've mentioned this messy love triangle aspect of it. I do. Again, if you like disaster movies, both of those are rooted in melodrama, right? That's a huge part of them. They know how to create messy characters that have different relationships, whether it's like stepsons and fathers and have to work shit out, or there's a mother that left one of them and is remarried.
Something like Invasion on Apple TV. Like one of the reasons why I thought that the first 2 episodes in particular, are so strong is because like you meet this family and you meet Golshifteh Farahani, and you meet her at the day that she found out that her husband is cheating on her. And that is the day the invasion happens. And I'm like, that is so bonkers to do. And at least here, it's like, okay, you find out that there's this love triangle. And now we need the person who got rejected to help us kill Godzilla.
That's drama.
It is juicy. It is juicy. I'm just particularly over love triangles here and now. If we'd done this podcast 2 years ago, I might have been like, oh, the love triangle, how wonderful. I'm just over love triangles in particular. But I mean, it does make sense in the story, and it's not overplayed. I was just kind of like, okay, of course.
It just adds shade to the characters
Yeah.
in ways that, make it more than just, hey, we need you. Okay, good. The end. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's more weight to it. There's more drama
weight
to it.
yeah.
And it's also helps that they're well acted, like you mentioned.
Definitely.
Akihiko Harata's Shirazawa in particular has so much brooding he has to go through because
Yeah.
he's dealing with the weight of this thing. Also,
Him and his eye patch.
Also his ex fiance is like doing stuff. So there's plenty of work there. And then you have Takashi Shimura, who I know from so many Kurosawa films, and he lends certainly if he's not in this, I don't think necessarily the movie tanks or it doesn't have the reputation it does. But the fact that he is, and this is the same year that Seven Samurai comes out, where he's ostensibly the lead next to Mifune, but he's basically the lead of that movie.
Yeah.
His gravitas goes a long way. It's the kind of thing where you can look at Godzilla and take it seriously because you have esteemed performers in these roles, which is something I give a lot of credit to, the legendary movies. They could cast those with weak, very whatever actors, much like the Marvel movies, for example.
Damn, so you're saying the Marvel movies a week?
I'm saying no. I'm saying the fact that they're able to get A-list casts in all of these movies, regardless of what you think about the movies, I think they're that much better because you have people that have inherent gravitas already, as opposed to having to try to build it up with lesser known people.
Even though Harrison Ford couldn't save Brave New World.
We don't need to talk about how modern this podcast recording is.
Let's go back to 1954 Japan.
These should be timeless episodes of Two Black Guys Talk Godzilla. But no, I do think, having Shimura, having these actors in here, it'll be... I don't want to keep teasing you. Can't wait to see these other Godzilla movies. But there's a range of performances.
We're on a journey.
There's a range of performances. Not only are there a range of performances, there's a range of the random American actor they also shove in here, like a Russ Tamblyn or a Nick Adams, and you'll be
from West Side Story,
and you'll be like, oh, they're here. That's fun.
Yeah, and I think we're obviously on a journey. This is the first one. It is the most iconic of them. There are some other iconic ones that are.
It's most iconic for certain reasons.
Yeah, and and a lot of people know about this one, so it's interesting. Like I said, what was most interesting to me about this watch, in particular, in talking about this, was just having seen, as I mentioned in the intro, some Godzilla movies, remembering what the original was. We've seen so many riffs on this that you think of in your mind, you're like, oh, the atomic breath of it all. You're like, okay, he has that, but it's how it's employed here is different than how it's employed other ones, but it's oh, that okay. Godzilla's imperviousness to
pretty much anything.
Yes. My least favorite part of this was when they were all those planes were shooting bombs at Godzilla, and they were not even getting close.
I mean, maybe they thought they could wear them down.
Which was funny. It just was so funny. But yeah, it's recalibrating, and we kind of have to, it's zombie movies are that way, right? You watch Night of the Living Dead and you're like, oh, here's the basis of it. And then in a post 28 days later world, you're like, oh yeah, they don't run, or they didn't run, right? And so, but in your mind, when you think of zombies moving, it's just your brain chemistry has been altered. So with Godzilla, it was very much
Debatable. Maybe I would say it depends. I know what you're saying.
In particular, when they had Godzilla roar, I thought was interesting because it happened once, and then we went a long stretch of this movie, even with him doing all his destruction, where he doesn't roar, and I was like, what is going on, right? Is this a 50s thing? Is a sound thing? And then you get sort of in the latter 20 minutes, he's roaring all the time.
Yeah.
So it's okay, that's interesting, because in my mind, it's every time he pops up, he roars, because in the latter movies that we've had, he does. So it just was different of having to think about it. It's oh, he's just Here, he's not even yelling at them while he's causing destruction. He's just stepping on shit.
Yeah, Godzilla becomes a bigger diva the more he goes on, where he's like, hey, pay attention to me. I'm here.
He was just like, oh, that car? That's nice. Let me burn it up.
Speaking of the sound, let's talk about the music a little bit. Kira Ifukube, tremendous score in this film.
Yes.
The main themes get kind of rearranged as we go forward. Like, there's a big military theme that I think gets associated a lot with, well, the movies kind of make it into Godzilla's theme, where after you get the the initial like bah, 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 like the introduction, like here he is, then you get that like it's the military in the first film, and you have the military's on screen. That's what you get in the preceding films. It's going to become like a refrain for Godzilla just in general, which I enjoy. But here, like, there's a lot of deliberate uses of where the music's coming from, and I think it's all very effective. The other thing, though, along with the kind of, and that music's more inspiring, like that's like fun to. Or not, but like it makes you like there's progression going on when you hear that music. As we've already pointed out, it's a very somber film.
Yeah,
and the movie's music does not shy away from that, and I love that. I love that it, like, it does put me in certainly a dour place. Like, it makes me feel sad because like it's reflecting on exactly what's happening, which is this monster killed a bunch of people for no reason beyond it felt like it. But if Ifukube doesn't back down from that, he channels the what kind of tones you would want for that, and it really, really works.
The score is great. Obviously, the theme is phenomenal and iconic. And, I mean, the composer was chosen because he composed a lot of military marches. And then, and you got me a Godzilla FAQ book for Christmas. And so it's like he did a lot of the score without seeing a lot of the footage, which is really, really fascinating. And we know composers work in different ways. Sometimes they are hired at the beginning, sometimes they pop in very, very late, and so it just is the score is iconic. It was amazing. I think the sound work, the tech aspects of this movie, like, imagine being in the 50s and like you see this and you see like the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Like the way your mind would be blown watching these movies. And I mean, it still holds, like, the miniature work that you mentioned is just incredible. The score, the cinematography is like
there's like the black and white photography, which there's only two, because we'll see this in Raids Again's also black and white. Then it's color from there on out. And unless you watch Godzilla minus color, minus one minus color, minus one minus C. But the way it works here, we're like in the next film, I think it's just done just because it looked like the first and its budget. This first one, though, beyond the fact that that's the choice, it just it adds to the starkness of it all, right? It adds a lot of dimension and shadow, obviously, and by coding it certain ways because you're going to work with the black and white, I do think there's a certain kind of intensity that's more effective and more emphasizes the drama of it all that doesn't come from if it's super colorful and vibrant. And now, obviously, like certain ones, but we mentioned minus one already, but there are a few that do try to emphasize its themes over just the fun of it all of being in a Godzilla movie, and they are obviously on color, and they can work that way too. But 1954, doing this for the first time, innovation with special effects or what have you, that's a time where, with those kind of choices, when you render something in black and white, they very much know the impact that can kind of have if you reduce everything down to a certain level.
And I mean, I think, the cinematography is particularly great when Godzilla is destroying Tokyo, because it's like you've got like the fire behind him or like the smoke, and he could be in silhouette. It just like really, sort of smart and interesting camera work choices.
To mix it with the Godzilla film specifically, because of how intricate they are with the miniature work and the suitmation, which is what they refer to with a person in the suit.
Yeah.
It's a big deal that it's not just like Ishirô Honda directing, but you have Eiji Tsuburaya, who's the special effects designer, who he worked very closely with Honda. Like, it's a huge part of like the huge part of these movies is like who the special effects designers are. So as we go forward, you'll see like different ones come in over time or whatnot, and it makes a difference. It's a big part of Toho's whole deal when it comes to making these movies. It's getting a certain like unit of people together.
Yeah. It just was, it was great. It was great to rewatch it, to like sort of recalibrate Godzilla back to the beginning. And I'm sure, as we continue on with this, having this back as the reference point and looking, I wonder what it'll do to, the next set of films, and also what it'll do to the more modern ones that we've experienced, like how those rewatches will play now that we've, watched this one.
It'll emphasize the kind of love that you can tell certain directors have for this franchise, and certain ones not necessarily don't, but certainly don't regard on the same, or would like the way they regard it is different by comparison.
Yeah.
I will note that this movie came out November 3rd, 1954 in Japan. Godzilla Raids Again, the sequel, came out April 24th, 1955.
Jeez.
And when we watched that film, and I don't need to get into my feelings on it right now, but it is a film that feels like, let's make another one, as opposed to we need to make another one. It's really special to us. It's we should make another one, and that's much like, I don't know, Bond films in the 60s, they were churning them out.
Yeah,
well, that's not fair. They do stop for a good while, and then King Kong vs. Godzilla comes out like basically pretty much around the 10th anniversary of Godzilla, and then they start just one after another keep coming.
Yeah,
it gets kind of wild how it progresses, how quickly it progresses, and becomes like, we should keep doing this.
Yeah, it definitely, the way the industry used to operate.
Yeah. I mean, there's both differences and very, very big similarities as far as how things go.
We some things can be done on that time frame now, but like a big spectacle, like thinking about, what was the last New Kingdom, a new Empire? What was the last
Godzilla, X-Kong. New
like think about like Empire. What it took to make that, and then them being like, okay, and then next year, and then this year, we're dropping that other one. So yeah, it's the time frame. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, this is obviously, if I had done this and been like rewatching this movie is utter trash, where would we be going? As a podcast.
I mean, the other deal with that, though, is nowadays when you're making these new ones, there is an expectation that you're trying to make the best version of it possible. Whatever scale you want to put that on, whatever. Back in 50s, 60s, 70s mainly, they're making them because they want them to be good, sure, but
they want to make money.
But there also is, yes, want to make money. We want to appeal to the demographic that wants it, kids, which it becomes eventually. And wrestling influences a lot of it too, the way these monsters play with each other.
Yeah.
But it's like, artistic integrity aside, I don't think Ishirô Honda or Jun Fukuda, who takes over directing for a number of these, is sitting there being like, "Here's my masterpiece."
Like, and that's
year 4 of my Godzilla movie.
Sense. I don't know if in the beginning of, like, when they dropped this movie, they probably weren't like, oh, 70-year-long franchise. We just got it in the bag, right? It's different. It had its genesis in a different way. So yeah.
You mentioned your favorite moment, which is basically the kind of three-way conversation they have towards the later part of the film. If I was going with a favorite moment of mine in this movie, the lengthy destruction sequence that takes place, where it's just really sad, and you really just see the kind of the heavy toll that Godzilla's destruction is taking, everything I really like. But I think it's the oxygen destroyer sequence at the end, because it bums me out. Like, it's this thing where everything's happening as far as Serizawa and the other guy, they're both going in the water, they're going to do this thing, and you see it happen, and it's like, I don't want Godzilla to keep destroying stuff, but at the same time, it's like, well, they killed him. It's sad. Like, it's not as like
downer.
It's not as I don't have as much like empathy in the same way I have for like King Kong, where like there was like, he's just had nothing else to do. Like there was no choice for him. He's just a wild animal loose in an area, and they shot him. And there's other implications there. We can get, it's older. That's a different podcast. That's two black guys talking about racism.
Let's leave King Kong out of it. So we have to.
This is like, there's a menace that needs to be halted in some way, but the only way we can do it, because this thing's indestructible, is take this, wacky sci-fi weapon that can't even be replicated because we don't want to, and murder him underwater while he's sleeping, essentially. And that's sad. And the movie gets it too. It's like all the sailors and everybody take their hats off. The music is super sad. It's like -1 does something kind of similar too, you know, which I always appreciate because I'm like, it's the kind of, it must be like a war sensibility thing, right? Where you're like, I get that this was my enemy, but I also want to salute the fact that this is a valuable.
I mean, it's just getting into the seriousness of the moment because it's like, you know, and in particular, this way, you know, the oxygen destroyer, like
which is a great name for a device.
Yeah, a great name for a device. It's just so visceral, right? It's like, okay, you know, the thing that you need to breathe is just going to be destroyed. So, yeah. That's a great sequence. The back half of this movie is really something.
Yeah, it's just all delivering.
The front half is good too, but the back half,
it's all delivering on what's been set up. We didn't even talk about this, but I mean, there's the first appearance of Godzilla, but like the movie, it's patient. Like it gives you like, okay, ships are getting destroyed. Why? I don't know. Something glows in the water. What else is happening? There's footsteps on the beach. That's weird. There's trilobites that are weird, that are bigger than other trilobites. Okay, I don't know what that means. There's footsteps at night. What's going on? I don't know. There was something stomping out there. Whatever. Like it gives you there's a lot of patience that goes into this kind of thing, which obviously, yes, it's the 50s. It's a movie like this with big special effects, meaning you can't use them all the time. So you need to compensate by saying, let's imply something before we actually show it. But it works, like, especially, I'd imagine, especially in 54. But as you're saying, like, yes, watching his head just little pop up, it's like, oh, okay. But you'll see the way they just introduce him in different movies. And cue that music.
I'm excited to see how he's going to grow and evolve and live to terrorize everybody else in what will terrorize Godzilla. Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, well, I'm excited for you, and plus, I don't mind watching these movies over again, let alone, with an audience, essentially. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be back in 2 weeks with our episode covering Godzilla Raids Again, which is not directed by Ishirô Honda. But yeah, well, I guess we do plugs now on this thing that we're figuring out as we go. Terence Johnson, where can people find more of you online?
You can find more of my work at lenoirauteur.net. That's LENOIRAUTEUR.net, and on Twitter and Instagram at Terence B. Johnson.
You can find everything I do at my personal Substack page, thecodazeek.substack.com. I'm the editor-in-chief at Weebly Entertainment. You can find my movie reviews there. I write Blu-ray and Criterion reviews over at wiseofblue.com. I co-host the podcast Out Now with Aaron and Abe. I am on all the socials at Aaron's PS4. And once again, this podcast this week has been brought to you by Valley of the Shadow, The Spiritual Value of Horror, a new book from Reed Lackey and Tyler Smith. And that's gonna do it for this episode of
episode 1 in the books.
Episode 1 of Two Black Guys Talk Godzilla. Two Black Guys Talk Godzilla is an independent podcast. This show is produced, edited, and distributed by Aaron Newworth and Terence Johnson. Theme music is sampled from Pharoah Monch. Please rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts. Feel free to email us at blackguystalkgodzilla@gmail.com and follow us on all the socials at BLK Godzilla Talk on Twitter and Blue Sky, and at Two Black Guys Talk Godzilla on Facebook and Instagram. And if you haven't already subscribed, feel free to do so wherever you download your podcast so you can keep listening to Two Black Guys Talk Godzilla. Sorry, I'm just contemplating how we're going to be doing this for the next, 4 years.
Yeah.
All right. Hi.